Now, everyone remembers that tragic day of Gojo Satoru passing. Everyone remembers where they were, what they were doing, who they were with in that exact moment where they figured out that Gojo had officially died and lost to Sukuna. I know for a fact I remember it like it was yesterday. The wound still fresh open for me. I go to sleep, I cry myself to sleep every night, knowing that Gojo Satoru is dead. But if you're like me, for all of you Gojo fans out there is a lot of evidence backing up the theory that Gojo may return sometime soon in the manga. Now, some people may say that, oh, this is all cope, it's all cope. Call it whatever you want. The proof is there. And let's run through all the things that are just pointing towards the idea that Gojo is coming back. Now, myself personally, at first I thought, yeah, no, the chances of Gojo coming back are very, very slim. But after seeing all this proof, all this evidence, now I'm starting to think, yeah, it'll actually make a lot of sense if Gojo comes back. And the chances of him coming back now are higher than ever, especially since the new information we learned last chapter. So let's get right into it, piece by piece. Now, let's go over first what we do know for a concrete fact. And in this latest chapter, it was confirmed that Gojo's body had already been retrieved by Mei Mei's younger brother. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, but it's been retrieved by Mei Mei's younger brother, and it was brought over to Shoko in order for Shoko to attempt to heal the body. Now, a lot of people are saying that Shoko is going to be completely useless when it comes to healing Gojo because she wasn't even able to heal Angel's arm. Therefore, how is she going to heal Gojo's body? Well, here's the difference between these two situations. It's a lot harder to recreate an entire limb. Angel had lost her entire arm. Shoko obviously can't heal an arm. But I would imagine that would be a lot easier just reattaching the pieces when you have them. And she has both Gojo's top half and his bottom half. So I imagine that just reattaching those two parts would already be easier than creating an entire new limb like she failed to do with Angel. So obviously she's not going to be able to do what she did to Angel, but maybe she'll be able to heal Gojo's body in some way. And Gege Akutami is also a very intentional writer in the sense that he likes to throw things in the story that have actual purpose and significance. So I don't think he would go out of his way to mention the fact that all the corpses are being retrieved in order for Shoko to heal if he wasn't planning on doing something with that later on. So maybe Gojo actually returns, or they might make some use out of Gojo. Either way, it's not like that statement is going to have no significance whatsoever, or at least I don't think it will, because Akutami isn't that type of writer. Now, another piece of hard evidence that just points towards Gojo's return is in chapter 236. Ironically, the chapter which Gojo died in is the chapter that hints at his return the most. And in that chapter, when we're getting the whole afterlife sequence with Gojo and all of his friends at the airport, Gojo is given the choice to either go south and stay his ordinary self, or go north and become a completely new person. Now, the significance behind this is that this directly references the story of the Buddha. Now, if you're familiar with that story, or even if you're not, let me just tell you. The Buddha took 7 steps north towards his birth, and with each step, a lotus flower bloomed. Now, Gojo's story is meant to be based around the Buddha's story. And if Gojo goes north, then that means that Gojo will probably be birthed again just like the Buddha was. And when we're talking about the lotus flowers and the 7 steps, in chapter 236, we actually saw 7 lotus flowers when Gojo was discussing going north. So this is just directly hinting the idea that Gojo will be rebirthed. Now, this next part will probably be the weakest piece of evidence, but it's the fact that Gojo has already been able to return from the dead once before, and that was during his fight with Toji. And specifically in that fight, after Gojo had returned, he tells Toji, "You should have just cut my head off, because reverse curse technique is linked with the brain." And against Sukuna, Sukuna also didn't cut Gojo's head off. So that is another piece of evidence that might point towards Gojo's returning. But personally, I believe it's a very weak piece of evidence. And if I was to believe that Gojo is returning, I wouldn't latch onto that evidence for hope, but I'm just letting you guys know that's there too. So what we do know is that Shoko currently has a hold of Gojo's body and is attempting to heal it. That we know for a fact. We also know that Gojo's story is meant to directly parallel the story of the Buddha. And we know that if Gojo goes north, that could also mean that Gojo is going to be birthed once again, just like how the Buddha went north in order to be birthed. And we also know that the Buddha took 7 steps, and in chapter 236, we saw 7 lotus flowers bloom when Gojo was talking about going north, just like the Buddha. And we also know that Gojo still has his brain, so reverse curse technique may also be an option. Overall, there's a lot of things pointing towards Gojo's return, and honestly, I don't think Gege would sprinkle all of this stuff in not to just bring him back. Nevertheless, if you guys enjoyed that video, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to let me know what other videos you guys want to see in the future. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and let me know if you guys think if Gojo is actually coming back or if this is just coping.